I don't think I've had like a problem this specific because this is the biggest issue for us, and today we lost 14 post plants total. Before that, against G2, I'm pretty sure if we had played more rounds, if we didn't get on shit on that bad, and it would have been like that would have been way more post plants there as well.
Yeah.
It just genuinely feels like this problem is way too specific, and I don't think I can remember a time where that's ever been the case in my career where it's like such a big problem. We've addressed it or tried to address it, and then it still doesn't work.
Hi everyone, Sage2 in here. I'm here with NRG's FNS after their series against MIBR. So I just wanted to get just your initial thoughts on the series. I know you've spoken in podcasts where every match just kind of feels the same for you, but what were your thoughts going into this series of MIBR? And then, what are your recollections of how that series went for you?
As far as thoughts going into the game, we knew what maps we're probably going to play, and it worked out the way we thought it would. So the veto was fine. Everyone was pretty confident going in, and we had a decent game plan going into our Haven, which was good. And then after the game, it's just the same issue that we had in the first 6 rounds versus G2, which kind of gave them a 6-0 lead, which is on attack sides, we just cannot win a post plant to save our lives. And when we're losing these kinds of rounds where we're in positions to win them, I don't know what the word is. It just kind of people start losing like confidence in making specific plays. With momentum, you're able to make plays. Yeah. And you're going to see more of that. And you saw more of that from MIBR towards the end of Icebox there. But it just comes down to being able to close these rounds out. And we just can't do that step 3 well. And then it was the same thing we did against G2. We in the first 6 rounds of Lotus, I think we were in like 3 post plants and lost all 3 of them. Yeah. And some of them were like advantageous to us, and we still just can't play these situations out well ever. So we'll play the round out well. We'll even default well. We'll even get a pick. We'll even take a site for free. So step 1 and 2 are flawless. And then for some reason, that's where we fall apart. And it's a problem that we recognize but can't seem to fix.
Do you feel like at this point it's just kind of a mental block of these post plans subconsciously, or do you feel like there's things like you work on in practice to make that even better? Because it sounds like you've done everything you really could in practice to prevent that.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely recognized that it's an issue for us, and we have talked about how to fix things. Yeah. But a lot of it just comes down to, for whatever reason, on match day, and obviously we're playing great opponents who are going to have good retakes, good utility. But I think we assume that they're going to have the greatest retake in the world and end up not playing as optimally in the post plants as we normally would do in the scrim, or like with less pressure against lesser opponents. Yeah. And I think that's maybe a little bit of a mental block, is just maybe we assume that they're going to have specific util that they don't even happen to have. So our positions are completely off from where they normally should be. And I just feel like if we did that step 3 with a lot of confidence, we would be able to close out these rounds and have momentum going into games, or having momentum in games. And then obviously on defense side, Haven, it's like giving, from 4-0 to 6-6 is pretty bad. We should get at least 8 rounds. And we had opportunities to win those rounds. But they played well. Like Verno played incredibly well on Haven. But on Icebox too, it's just like, we play these scenarios out. We know exactly how we're going to play our post plants. And then we just either lose the gunfights, or there's just something it just feels like maybe we're on a different page sometimes. Yeah. Obviously, I'm going to have to rewatch the game to see, sure. But from like initial thoughts after the game, it just comes down to, we have to be able to close these rounds out. There's no like excuse or anything. It's just, we have to have better plans.
You've been playing for a while. I'm curious, have you ever had a situation like this in other teams, either in Counter-Strike or even in Valorant, where there's just this very persistent problem harping the team, kind of stopping the team from being solid to a really great team that you can be in practice? And if so, how do you work through that, and then how do you eventually find a resolution for that?
I don't think I've had like a problem this specific, because this is the biggest issue for us, and today we lost 14 post plants total. Before that, against G2, I'm pretty sure if we had played more rounds, if we didn't get on shit on that bad, and it would have been like, that would have been way more post plants there as well.
Yeah.
It just genuinely feels like this problem is way too specific. And I don't think I can remember a time where that's ever been the case in my career, where it's like such a big problem. We've addressed it or tried to address it, and then it still doesn't work. It's kind of hard. There is like a mental, I don't even know if it's a mental block, because that just sounds too harsh.
Yeah.
It's just more, we have to be better in those situations. We have to be able to close out some of these rounds, because I just think constantly being in it, like I pride myself on attack side calling.
Yeah.
And I feel like I need to do a better job in these post plans to calm and collectively get people on the same page. And because I'm lurking a lot of the times, it's very difficult to do that. I kind of rely on everyone else to figure it out. And there are times where we have the post plant figured out and we'll still lose because of one little thing going wrong. And it's just a domino effect. So obviously we're gonna have to rewatch the game, but I mean, truthfully, I couldn't tell you right now what the fix is.
I mean, as a general blanket statement, just hearing that, and even on a human perspective, whenever you're working at something and you're trying to do anything that you can to fix that problem, I imagine it's very frustrating to just feel like you're making all this progress in practice and it's not working out. Is that kind of what it feels like?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, all like expectations and everything aside, for me, our team prides themselves on playing well on stage, and it just feels like this one thing is constantly, and the thing is, even when we had Verno in the lineup and we played crew on kickoff, it was the exact same problem. We were playing these post plants so badly, and it feels like there's something wrong with them, and we can't really pinpoint one thing because something like else goes wrong every single time. And it's one of those situations where we just need to, I feel like if we get past this hump of these post plants and play these rounds out correctly, going forward, you'll see a better team you'll see much better results from us. But again, it's a massive part of the game and we have to get better at it.
Do you feel like even when, in the preseason, when Andrew was the preseason Kings, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like even despite you winning on stage, that was also a problem you were having? Because you're playing some really good teams there. You beat Gen G, who's doing solid. Or is this something that just really got brought up in kickoff?
Definitely kickoff was more apparent, because when you lose, you kind of see more problems.
Yeah.
When you win, a lot of it does get pulled under the rug, unfortunately. But when you lose, you're way more critical of it. And that's where we kind of started to notice, like, how are we playing these post plans so terribly? So it's a persistent issue that we've had, and it's sad that we aren't able to fix it, honestly. But I mean, the thing is, in practice, we do fix it. We do go over them, and then we say, like, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to counter it. Maybe we need to have a better plan, or maybe less things in people's heads. I truly don't know what it is, but it's the one thing that's consistently stopped us from being truly elite in this game right now is being able to close rounds where we have advantages in the post plant specifically. And the fact that, like, today just tells the whole story is like 14 post plants is crazy. To lose all of them. That's just insane. I don't even remember us winning one post plant, honestly. So that's what's, I think, holding us back right now as like a very evident problem, if I were to point to one. We have one more match to get past it.
So then talk to me about Leviatán, and of kind of these 6 teams. First, I'll just start with the first part. Of these 6 teams, I will go 5. Of the 5 teams in your group, where would you rank Leviatán within that grouping of 5?
I'd say they're probably in the same level as us right now. I'm sure they feel like they could play better. Obviously, we feel like we could play a lot better. So I think we're pretty much at a stalemate when it comes to like both of us trying to compare each other. So I think that's where they're at. I think we're both playing under our current, like, the level we can play at. So hopefully that match isn't a complete mid-off of teams. Just going to do the best that we can to prepare, as always. But we need to fix this issue. Like, this specific issue that I keep going back to with these post plants and retakes, there has to be a solution that we can kind of play it, like use across all the maps, because it's an issue that we have on all the maps right now, and it's very like telling at this point.
Because how you describe how you and Leviatán are kind of a stalemate in terms of skill level. I mean, you've been playing for a while, but I'm just curious, is there an extra pressure maybe where if you go into that match and these issues still persist, it's kind of like, fuck, this sucks, because like this is a team at our skill level and we're still making these same exact mistakes.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with that. Like when we go into these matches, we're not like, oh, the opponent is overly skilled in comparison to us. We genuinely feel like we play most of these rounds well. We are able to get entries. We are able to outplay the opponent for the most part until the end of the round. Yeah, that's where things fall apart for us, and that's something obviously we're going to focus on in practice. But yeah, the same thing goes for Lev. Like if it happens against Lev too somehow, and we're not able to solve that issue, then we don't deserve to make it to playoffs. Yeah. And so it's going to come down to that at the end of the day. I think even if we had won today, it still would have come down to us versus Lev to see who makes playoffs. Pretty sure. Yeah. So right. So I mean, realistically, the one silver lining is this match specifically it outlined our issues more so than we already knew that we had them. And then secondly, it's just more about the match that really matters is the one versus Lev. And we can kind of look at like very, very critically at ourselves and try to see where we can find these solutions to these problems. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm personally very confident on regardless of which opponents we play. Mm-hmm. And our last two results have been abysmal. But the underlying issue of why we're playing bad is very evident and obvious. Yeah. And so, yeah.
So in my final question, I kind of wanted to highlight some of the things that I've heard in the NRG podcast a bit more, where you were talking about how ever since Mike's introduction into the team, while, at first during the off season, the team wasn't really winning as much, but then there was this aspect of we're identifying the issues more in a systematic way, and we're actually being able to resolve these things a lot faster. So I guess to the general community, can you just talk about that growth behind the scenes and what it's been like just being able to work with Mike's and how this team actually has been improving, apart from this one roadblock?
I think Mike's just says what's on his mind very bluntly and in a way where I think everybody respects it and understands it. And I think that's it's very easy for us to be able to play around that and kind of play for that. So, for example, when he calls timeouts, he's able to call the adjustment that we need to make in order to win rounds, and most of the time he's right. And then when it comes to like even adding Brock back into the team, or adding Brock to the team, yeah, it's a very similar like process in terms of how much we're progressing. But obviously practice isn't necessarily the complete indicator. You kind of have to have results to back it up in matches. And that's what's unfortunate is our practices do go well, and a lot of the times we do feel like we are efficient in our practices, but we have to, again, it's always going to come down to the same issue. The post plants can't be the way that they are. We're never going to win any match, regardless of whether we're playing a lower skill or a higher skill team, based off the way that we are playing these rounds out. And it's definitely something that we hopefully are able to fix with Mike's.
FNS, I appreciate your insight into everything. Thank you.